Welcome to the Lockdown Podcast. We are here to cover just kind of what's going on, the comings and goings of Raw and SmackDown, and we're 2 weeks away from Clash of the Castle. Not a whole lot on the card. Um, so with the Clash of the Castle being obviously in Scotland or whatever it is that they think,
I think it's
they're
Scotland.
gonna kind of fill it with, you know, those kind of wrestlers. They have obviously Drew is fighting Damian, Piper Niven is facing Bailey, which doesn't really seem like a built match. It just kind of happened last week, and they're like, "Hey, you're not going to be champion because I will be," and then that match just gets made, and it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. Um, so like, what do you like? What do you guys think as far as like what matches might come to be for Clash at the Castle? I mean, I seen kind of a couple predictors. I don't put much stock in some of it. You basically have a Randy and Gunther running it back. I don't know if they're doing that um on Raw or not, because obviously they're both on SmackDown. So like, I don't know if they would do it on one of the shows or they would push it to Clash the Castle just to kind of have Gunther beat him legit, and then we kind of are like, okay, yup, he did it clean. I think that would make sense just to put those naysayers to bed.
Pretty much.
Um,
Yeah.
Another one was LA Knight versus Logan Paul for the U.S. Championship. I think
Mm.
someone just needs to beat Logan Paul, have him go away for 6 months, and let the roster continue to do its thing. I think that would be a potential. I really don't want this potential of Sammy versus Chad again. They need like I'm all for multiple matches and stuff like that. Maybe on like a Raw or SmackDown, but stop giving us repeat matches at PLEs. Because we've seen the Chad Gable and Sammy on SmackDown or Raw, whichever show it was. We've seen the Chad Gable, Sami Zayn, and Braun or yeah, Bronson Reed. We've seen that one, so it's like I want a fresh competitor for Sammy. I don't even care if it's rushed. I just want to see a better match, different people. So I think Sammy I would hope would be on that card. I think the women's tag teams need to be on the card. That's not really in the notes I'm looking at, but like those things need to be defended more. Even if they continue to win, they need to be defended more. Um, that's just my uh, perspective. Um, and so then now this one I'm not putting stock in, but Cody versus Solo. Um, I don't think that's gonna happen. I think Cody will fight somebody at Clash of the Castle just because he missed. Did he miss the last? Did he miss Backlash or who did he face at Backlash? No, he
No,
faced Cody
he
or
took on he
he
took on
faced
AJ Styles at
AJ Styles.
Backlash.
I think
Yeah,
they're going to run
so
it back after what we saw on Friday. I think they're
yeah,
going to.
that would make sense given the kind of pretended, retirement speech crap, and then I think AJ is gonna retire
That
in
retirement
it.
speech reminds me of the Mark Henry one, and
Yep.
I was at
Well,
that. I was at that Raw when he did that, and I seen him come in, getting off his out of his vehicle and wearing all that pink jacket. I'm like, are you all dressed up? Because I got a speech tonight. I'm retiring. I'm like, yeah, BS. I know that's a lie.
Yeah, yeah. I feel like it's a retirement thing is gonna be more like your final match and then you're done kind of thing. I don't think it's gonna be a speech. Um, Now I don't think he's not got a chance to beat Cody. I mean, I think I would be remiss to say honestly, now that Cody's champion, I don't want him to be champion anymore. Um, I think he looks more like a paper champion.
hmm.
Like he won
A
it, the
lot,
story was
a lot
great.
of fans, a lot of fans are not happy with it. A lot of fans are like,
He
we want Roman.
Well, that's the
He's
thing
making
too. Is
movie.
Roman called his shot, about a year ago at an interview, and he's like, they hate me now, but when I leave, they're gonna want me back. And I
Mhm.
think Roman will be the one to beat Cody. That's
Mm.
just that would be my fantasy booking per se. I mean, not really a
And
fantasy
that's to
booking.
set up
He does still have a
Roman and The
rematch.
Rock.
He still has a
Yeah.
rematch.
So that would set up Roman and
I
The
mean,
Rock, right?
those rematch clause things are so loose lip when it comes to when they say they don't have one technically, but they seem to run them back anyways. Because they got rid of the rematch clause thing
Oh,
supposedly.
I didn't know that.
They got rid of it, but they still kind of run things back. So it's like, or when they'll have, I think it was when Sammy was going for the IC. I think he'd lost it, and then like he was in a triple threat, and then he got back to it, and when he beat Gunther. So like they might have a repeat competitor, but they put him in a shoddy like triple threat or fatal 4-way or something where the person wins, and then they go. And so it's like kind of a cheat way to run the match back per se. So we'll kind of break down Raw. What are your guys' thoughts on like how long do you think Damian will hold the title, and when do you think, if so, he will slowly go by himself and no longer be Judgment Day?
I'm gonna give him maybe another 3 pay-per-views, maybe, and then I can see when he goes to lose it. I'm gonna see Judgment Day fucking him over and screwing up his match, and that's how he's gonna lose it. And that's probably where they're gonna slowly split apart because they screwed him over.
Mm.
That's just what I see, what I think.
SummerSlam, I think that'll be the end of his run. Yeah, SummerSlam. I don't know, or I can't speculate right now because the Judgment Day isn't really holding my attention. So,
Without mommy.
yeah, I mean, it is.
I mean,
it is a little.
They don't
it is a
got
little.
that beautiful woman with them.
I mean, that does. The way that we are all like ingrained, it does make sense to give us some eye candy to let us enjoy. But no, I am more. I'm more of how do we get past Judgment Day and have Finn and Bullet Club reunite. That's the only thing like I'm like trying to wrap my head around. Other than that, I mean, Damian, I'm glad he's got the recognition he's earned because he's put in a lot of work behind the scenes and on camera. He's continuing to improve, especially with his mic skills, his in-ring presence. The work he did with R-Truth was, really top notch because R-Truth is just a national treasure, as we all know. So I think for me, the everything about Judgment Day right now is all right, whatever,
It's not.
However,
it doesn't seem as dominant.
Yeah, however, I will say that the Liv Morgan interactions with Dom, that could be, if there's a little more substance for that, I think I would want to be engaged with Judgment Day, just to see how this plays out with Rhea Ripley coming back. Will there be like a turn on Rhea Ripley with Dom? How does that impact everybody in Judgment Day? But right now, I'm just not feeling Judgment Day.
I just don't buy them as intense as they portray themselves. JD small, Finn small, Dominic small. Rhea is a beast. Damian is a beast. Now, when you talk about the Bullet Club thing, do you think this is purely hypothetical, like if like you said with the Bullet Club reunion, like what if Finn and the Good Brothers got brought back, brought those two together because essentially all Bullet Club, you know, and obviously AJ Styles. I don't think AJ Styles will be around for the foreseeable. We'll say I think SummerSlam will be his out. Just because he's been talking a lot about, spending time with the family. I mean, that was all truth that he was speaking in regards to, like, his son graduating, stuff like that, and like, being, there for his kids moving forward, and that's respectable. The guy's been doing the thing, been doing the damn thing for 20 plus years. Probably honestly even deep as like 25, 26 years if you really count the indie runs and all that. I mean, and just the grinding that he has to become who he is now. But yeah, I would definitely like to, because I really think so. This is how I would break Judgment Day. One, Damian doesn't need them. I think Dominic does something else. JD gets let go in the next 6 months to a year, and I mean, I really don't think the Judgment Day, when it was Edge's Judgment Day, I feel like it was a different monster. Just because Edge has a presence.
Mhm.
Edge by himself, and when that music hits and stuff like that, I just feel like, when Finn kind of took it over, I just kind of was like, I'm not quite buying it, because like now when you look at Final Testament, you look at Karrion Kross, AOP, Scarlet, and God, I can't think of his name.
Paul Ellering.
Yeah, I mean, like, that is dominance. That is what Judgment Day thinks they are. If you really think about it, Judgment Day thinks they are in full beast mode, and they think they're just running roughshod, and they run WWE, blah blah. I'm like, no. New Testament would run WWE. Akam and Razor are freaking monsters, dude.
Oh yeah. Big
Karrion
boys.
Kross. This is the best Karrion Kross I've seen since he came to WWE, even beyond NXT. Like, this faction is something to be freaking feared, and that's a faction I fear. Judgment Day is like child's play compared to Final Testament.
Yeah, I I think that there has to be something else that's being cooked up for them. They're looking through the WWE cookbook, and they're trying to put together a recipe for them that works. I think without Rhea Ripley, they're just in a holding pattern, and we're going to see a little bit more with this. We've got this Liv Morgan interaction story that they can build upon, but we're going to get, this is probably their lull, with the exception of the Liv Morgan interactions and Damian Priest with Drew McIntyre. It's kind of a lull, so I don't see them doing anything really spectacular outside of potentially, and this is a long shot, that they win the tag team championship titles at Clash of the Castle, just because Finn is from that area, that region. Outside of that, I think CM Punk causes interference, so Damian retains. That starts spitting up the CM Punk Drew McIntyre story. Outside of that, I think we're just in a holding pattern. We're just gonna have to see how this Liv Morgan Dominic Mysterio interaction works out, what they build upon that, so when Rhea comes back, there's story and work for her. Otherwise, we've got to like rebuild everything with that group, and then we might as well just look at breaking them apart. And eventually it's going to happen, but if it's not towards something that I'm interested in, I genuinely don't care.
I'm just confused at Drew wanting, going after the title, but he's consumed with CM Punk, which is why he got cashed in the first place. And so, like, I think Drew is not going to win a title anytime
Oh,
soon.
he's not going to win that title at the next pay-per-view because I know for a fact CM Punk's going to interfere in that some shape or form.
Because that's going to set up for SummerSlam.
Yep.
Yeah.
Which would be ideal, obviously. And I think there is one in July before August. I think so.
Yeah, I think it's the Money in the Bank.
So yeah. Now that's the twist though, because now Money in the if I think Money in the Bank is around the corner, and so
I'll look it up.
Yeah, because I know if you really, really think about it, like how fast could Money in the Bank change everything? Because there's been times in the same night they've cashed in.
Yeah,
So like
it's July. Money in the Bank's pay-per-view is Saturday, July 6th.
Okay.
So
yeah, we're literally a month from that essentially. Which
yeah, they're just throwing these pay-per-views just
way too early.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, and I think a lot of it is that it's TKO doing money grab, which I mean, it's okay. I just think that a lot of this stuff can be dealt with in a in a 20-ish minute match on Raw or SmackDown. Most of them.
I wonder how much of it is not a TKO money grab, and this is just the schedule. But because we don't have that old VKM regime and storylines and writing and things like that, we are getting something different. And on the, it kind of feels like old VKM type storytelling, but we know he's not there, not involved. But are they looking too heavily in the past of trying to do these stories, or are we just... Are we wanting more than what we can handle, right now? Because there's so many other like different things that would keep the audience engaged in the product. You've got all this Uncle Howdy QR code stuff,
and
which
I'm just bored with.
Yeah,
I'm so bored with the QR code. It's like, if you're gonna pull the freaking trigger, pull the dang trigger.
Yeah,
they keep on saying, oh, they were supposed to be at Backlash, and then they were supposed to be at this and supposed to be at that. Like,
I know
they're spinning their wheels, dude.
They're supposed to be where they are when they get there. I mean, we know that anything can change, and pro wrestling is subject to change. Cards subject to change all the time. So we don't know when, but I've heard some rumblings. June 17th. I think that's a Monday.
I know it's I know it's getting annoying. A couple of my friends that actually played the new 2K game, they even added it into the freaking game.
I mean, it's probably something going forward that this is like how these characters will interact with the audience. QR codes, hidden meanings and stuff like that. But I digress. So we've got the Uncle Howdy stuff. We've got the Judgment Day stuff. We've got this really strange letdown with the Bloodline saga and moving into new chapters and how that's pairing out. There's so many things that we were riding high on a year ago, and now we're kind of just like, oh, what do we do? How do we get through this? It's not holding my interest. So like the going back to what you mentioned about Chad Gable and his IC attempts and keep running that back. I mean, that's typical WWE stuff, especially when they're in a lull. They're trying to figure out getting from one major pay-per-view to another. I think it's just that time of year when the stories are just kind of like, we've got to figure out how do we transition from this point to this point, and we know that it's not going to be our best work, but this is what we've come up with. This seems to be what's going to work with people's schedules and timing and all the other stuff. So this is what we have to deal with, and we know that it's not going to be our good stuff. Roman's filming a movie, The Rock's filming a movie, John Cena is probably trying to get another movie or do something else. There's probably tons of other things or reasons why we can't move in a way that we want to move, or we can't see the product move in a way that we want to see the product move. And we can just sit here and speculate, but I think looking back on it, once we get to the destination, we'll think like the journey was more fun, because eventually we will see titles change hands and we'll see new stories come up. But for right now, nothing is really holding my interest outside of like, nothing. I mean, I take that back. Some of the new partnerships that the WWE has gone into are kind of interesting. So
Now, what about now? I'm just kind of thinking, because now that Sheamus can go after the IC title, which would give him a Grand Slam. Now, what about that at Clash of the Castle? Now that I was just kind of thinking, because that's the one title that has eluded him. What about Sheamus going after the IC and then winning, and then Sammy kind of fizzles to whatever he was doing?
I would,
because I think that'd be a good Clash of the Castle.
Yeah.
And it'd be good for him because they'll actually win over in his country.
Yeah, because didn't he lose like the first one? Like
he lost, because it was a triple threat with Gunther, Sheamus, and Drew McIntyre.
Yeah.
No, it was just Gunther and Sheamus, because Drew was taking on Roman Reigns for the Universal title.
Didn't they? I mean, I know they've had a three-way match though, haven't they?
It was at WrestleMania at the Hollywood one.
Okay. Yeah, I know they wrestled. I forgot which one it was, but yeah.
And Sheamus has been off TV for a couple of weeks, so maybe he's trying to get his in-ring look. So he's cutting.
He was
off the road.
He was on Raw Monday just a talk side.
Okay, so it wasn't in ring. He was
just talking, and he went in the back and took on went and tagged what's his name from Gunter's group.
Oh, Ludwig.
Yeah.
Or was it?
Well, no, because Baldy's not there no more. Baldy's on the other brand.
Yeah, the blonde.
Giovanni Vinci's on the other brand now, so they're actually completely dismantled.
Separate.
But like, what are they going to do with him?
Probably not Jack Squad.
You know,
Is he
the new Akira Tozawa?
You know what? He's a big guy. He's got a look. You know, he still fits into that VKM mold. So, you know, whatever they want to.
He's a big dude. He's pretty built.
I
think he's better off being a solo wrestler.
But like you haven't seen him since the draft though.
And that's fine. We haven't. Yeah, that's that. I don't.
Maybe they're chiseling a new character, and
they do that sometimes. They cut him out, and he might come back with a different name, a different look. More.
Well, because I forgot what he was before.
I can't remember.
Yeah, I want to say it started with an F, but I digress. We also haven't seen Odyssey Jones. You know, since the draft. So, you know, they're just waiting. You know, I
think they're just waiting for that right moment.
Yeah, I want to see Odyssey Jones get hooked up with the
I'm
New
surprised
Day.
they really haven't. I mean, a lot of those drafts, they really didn't. Like, I want to know what they are doing with them, because I know you have some of these wrestlers that would be good that got drafted from NXT. And really, it only seems like Lyra Valkyria is really the only one that's getting really any kind of push. I mean, Braun, he really wasn't drafted because, I mean, it says he was drafted, but he's also brought to the brand months prior when he was still the tag team title in NXT. Right. So, like, he didn't really officially technically get on the roster until the draft, because even though he was brought up to SmackDown, I think it was. He didn't really get the trigger pull because he was still doing the tag thing with Baron Corbin in NXT, and so
is Baron Corbin?
Baron's on the other brand. Yeah, they split up the
War
Dogs. They call them War Dogs or something like that.
That sounds weird, but it's understandable. Yeah.
Oh, it was Fabian. It was Fabian Eichner. That's what it was. I know you said it started with an F, and I said Fabian. It was Fabian Eichner before. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing is, dude, he's 6 foot. It says build height 6 foot 220. He doesn't look it
He does not look
No.
220.
because
I mean,
No.
and
I
then
mean, well, no, he
also
doesn't
the
even look.
TV,
He doesn't look 6 foot.
and also the TV does make you look bigger. So I mean, he,
You know,
he
but but then again, how tall is Gunther? Maybe it's just because Gunther's
Gunter, I
listed at
think, is-
6'4".
Yeah, I was about to say he's about either.
So if
6'3"
you
or
I guess if
6'4".
you kind of sideline it by Gunther, because Gunther 6'4", 250. So yeah, maybe he is 6 foot. It's just Gunther's taller
And
and
then the other guy I think is like 6'2",
Ludwig
6'3".
Kaiser.
yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
6'2".
Well, good for you, sir. Good for you.
I'm 5'9", 5'10" with heels on. Yes. Well, and
that's amazing.
Ludwig is listed at 6'3". So yeah, I mean, like he probably, because he looks smaller, because he is 3 to 4 inches shorter than his counterpart. So I guess
But we
that
also got to
would make-
take some of these numbers with a grain of salt. I mean, is Ludwig? I mean,
he's
Tiffany. What is it? Tiffany Stratton looks almost as, in the couple of pictures I saw, almost as tall as Ludwig. So, I mean, are you telling me she's 5'11"?
She might be.
No, she's listed as 5'6.5".
So 5'9" in heels.
Yeah, she's so smoking hot, dude. It's stupid,
She's an
dude.
athlete.
And she's only 20.
6.
She just turned 24.
Even
Yeah,
worse.
she's a youngin.
And she's actually been, it says Ludwig Kaiser's been with since 2022. So they hid that thing for a long time before. They
Which is-
just kind of released something in the last like month or two about them being together. They've been together for 2 years.
Good for
It-
them. Good
It's
for them.
because
Have
it's
some privacy.
it's mostly WWE, because WWE likes to keep a lot of relationships private.
Well, I mean, it's because they weren't going to have TV time, so there was no kayfabe relationship to put on TV. So I mean, she's only been on the main roster for, you know, probably 4 to 6 months, and so
I want to know how old Ludwig is, because his face
Dude.
looks like he's 37.
stop
And
making me keep on searching this shit. Jeez.
I'm
I'm like,
uncomfortable.
we talked about it. I googled it and then I closed the tab, and you're like, I wonder how old he is.
Oh,
Bro,
goodness.
you're killing me, man.
I think he's
I
like
know.
30.
He's 30, okay.
Gunther is 36 on,
A year younger than me.
and yeah, man, he's had so many names. Holy crap! Ring name Walter Hahn,
I remember
Walter
that one.
Patter, Walter Gunther Stark, Man Mountain Walter, Big Daddy Walter, Big Van Walter, Ga Ching Ping, Gunther King Gunther.
I should go to Monday Night Raw with a sign that says Big Daddy Gunter.
Mm. Let's
You're probably
not.
like, I know that name.
Yep.
You
Goodness.
He's like, oh god, I hate that.
Yep.
you would break his character so hard. It's
Mm. Or he would acknowledge you. A true sportsman.
I should when he shows up.
he Googles some shit, and all of a sudden he thinks he knows everything.
Yes.
Little shit. Like I think it'd be freaking hilarious if you go and like you search all these people's old names, and then you bring that and you start calling them that in WWE. It would just completely just mess up. It would break character.
Probably.
I wouldn't mind that. I wouldn't mind that.
I would say it when they show up to the arena. Like, how's it going, Big Daddy Gunter?
Big
Oh,
Daddy.
Daddy.
Oh man.
Goodness.
Okay, so random side note, because
Mhm.
so who do you think has the best daddy name? Like when they've
Oh.
had a wrestler that's been kind of like has a daddy in their name.
So it's Big Daddy Cool Diesel, Kevin Nash, and Big Daddy V Viscera. So
And
yeah.
Gunther.
Big Daddy V. Oh god, I miss
Yeah.
him. He
Yeah.
was
Oh
a good
my
wrestler.
Yep, he was. Yep. So
Lud-
that's it. That's it.
So,
Yeah. It's a
so,
short
well,
list.
yeah, I guess it was Big Papa Pump. I thought he used to have a gimmick that was Daddy something, but Ludwig is 33.
All right.
Do you have
okay.
any other questions about him so I don't close the tab?
How his face got so skinny? Is he on Ozempic? Let me stop. No, thank you so much. Thank you so much.
No.
You know,
the
so
reason why
Ri-
he's
so-
the
so
reason why
he
he's so
actually-
skinny is girl sucks the life out of him.
You know what? And that should be edited.
Gosh, Tim, that's my line.
Gimmick infringement.
Stealing
Gimmick infringement.
my gimmick, man. Oh man. Now who's going off? Now who's going on non PG-13? Jeez, Tim, be appropriate.
Oh,
Maybe.
So actually, what's actually kind of weird is that Ludwig actually went by his actual name in WWE. So his actual name is actual Marcel Bartel, which is what he went by in NXT before he went to the main roster. Fun fact.
Yes.
And
I
his
didn't know
only other ring name was Axel Dieter Jr. What the
What the hell type of name is that?
You know what? I give up with these names.
I think he lost a bet for that one.
I think they just throw him in like some weird version of the Wu-Tang name generator. I mean, would not be surprised.
Agreed.
So, SmackDown, Raw.
So really, there's not. I mean, so AOP destroys Creed Brothers. Obviously, no surprise. Like I've been saying, AOP Final Testament should be pushed.
Right.
They need to get some titles. They need to put some gold on those guys because that would be the larger than life mentality that WWE is very synonymous for. We don't need like the tag team titles when they were on Judgment Day, dude. Without Damian Priest, anybody holding the tag titles in Judgment Day is garbage. They're little small guys. I think it's funny that we used to have the cruiserweight division, which was like under 205, and we see main roster guys like 212, 213. Like these are damn literally cruiserweights with a backpack on. Okay, like, and
no one believed Buddy
really,
Murphy was a cruiserweight. No one believed that. No one.
But like, it's like the weight difference in some of these things where like a lot of these guys, they could literally have a show and call it 220 live and literally have half the roster because, and like when you see these,
I don't mind little smaller statured performers holding gold. I don't mind that at all. What I do not believe is that the little guy can always beat the bigger guy. You know what I'm saying? There just comes to a point where the suspension of disbelief doesn't work. And
well, it's like when it's like when Braun Strowman never won a title and he'd face these guys and you're like, dude, he could destroy them. And I'm, the only way that makes sense is if a small guy beats a bigger guy is if there's outside interference. I really it's really, really tough in WWE when you have these guys like Braun Strowman, these guys like Bronson, what's his stupid name?
Reed.
Big Bronson Reed. Like you have him, you have Otis, you have these guys, even like the Good Brothers. You have these wrestlers that are large in stature and they fit the bill of larger than life, which is the mantra of like the 90s and early 2000s, right? WWE pushed. They wanted these wrestlers to be larger than life, and some of these guys were larger, but they weren't holding titles, and it makes no sense. It's the same thing with like Nia Jax. You give her the mantra, of whatever, basically like the immovable object and all this other stuff. I'm like, and the only time the little ones beat her is when she steps on the second rope and they act like it's a big feat of strength for her to have momentum to fall off the top rope.
I totally agree with that.
Becky, like, I'm sorry, none of these wrestlers, with the exception of Bianca Belair, maybe Shayna Baszler, now Jade Cargill, are gonna lift Nia Jax straight from standing to lifting. It's not gonna happen. You know, and like you see it, you see the like the script start be like, okay, yep, she's gonna get on the second rope, and then she's gonna be like, oh man, I can't get up to the third one, and then they come underneath her, and then they like lift them. They don't really lift them; they basically kind of like push them, you know, into a move. Like the manhandle slam really is not. It's like the woman's version of rock bottom. That's really all it is. And I just like you said, it's when you have these big wrestlers versus these smaller ones, it just doesn't make sense. Those should be squash matches.
Yeah,
You know,
I
come on, disagree with me, Frederick. I know you want to.
I don't. I literally think that we need to have that era where it's believable that these big guys just and big girls or strong women come in and they just own those championships. I that time is coming because you can't tell me that Shayna Baszler with her skill set and background has not been a singles champion. That's
other than the women's NXT, but yeah,
yep, that's preposterous. I mean,
Rhea
it's Ripley
the
is
same thing with Natty. I mean,
yeah, she
Natty's
should
been doing this for 20 years, and you guys have put like a handful of champions on her, and you call her the boat and everything else, but yet you don't treat her like that.
Yeah,
like
she should definitely have been a singles champion several times over.
She was a Divas champion, I believe, but like
that was her last women's championship.
But I just think that there's so much more deserving people on the roster. Like the things Liv Morgan says about basically getting walked over, that's not even like kayfabe. That's real. That's genuine. Like, you know, you have the Charlottes, the Baileys, the Biancas. You know, you always also have to walk the titles.
We also have to look at how much of a draw are these people. That, you know, I wouldn't go to see AOP as a tag team champion, but I would go to see Balor as a tag team champion or R-Truth as a champion of some sort because I like R-Truth. You know what I'm saying? So
well, I mean,
how much of it? Yeah,
how
much of it is like? How much of it is believable versus marketable? Because all of them there is some marketability with everyone that's signed. But if there's not creative things for them to do, it's like, it's pretty hard to make them the face of the company, even if it's for a short time, you know? So I did. It's more of Liv Morgan's look than it is her being believable as a champion. Not her skill set, but believable as a champion. Because they wouldn't be in that ring if they didn't have the skill set. So let's make that a level playing field. It's more so about the marketability of each one of those performers. Like, it might be a challenge to market Shayna Baszler, and that's why she hasn't had a championship run. That might be a problem. You know, how do we market her? How do we get her over? You know, I haven't
seen her in the ring lately.
I don't. Well, she had a match with Zoe Stark, and they're tagging in against somebody else, I think, recently.
Yeah. And then she was just on NXT, I think last Tuesday.
Yeah, I think that's where she was at. But I just that's the thing is that like I feel like we're not the only ones that feel this way. Yeah. And I think we're there's probably millions with the like-mindedness that we have in the regards to put a title on them, dude. Like, you know, it don't have to be for a long time, but just give them the notoriety, even if it's for a couple months, because that's how the titles moved around back in the day.
I think it validates them with being a WWE superstar. That being a WWE superstar might not guarantee you immediately become a world champion or hold championship gold, but you are good enough to be a champion, and you're good enough to have those opportunities, and you be here long enough and you go through the work, and that work will look different for every performer, and you can get this opportunity to be the face of the company. I mean, I think with Natalia, with Shayna Baszler, wow.
I mean, I would buy and I
Yeah.
would buy them putting put the women's NXT title on Natalia. I feel like that would be
Yeah.
at least semi-respectable,
Yeah.
just because I feel like she's gonna move in the next couple years to basically doing the exact same thing her husband does and enhancing talent.
Yeah.
And it just sucks because, like, everybody, yes, you have the marketable, but like you also, like, even like I said, like just the notoriety, like, because a lot of times you see like, oh yeah, they're a former they're a former women's champion. Even just that little shtick on their entrance or the commentator saying it, like that has to make them feel good that like they reached it. They didn't have it for a
Right.
long time, but they were positioned at least for a moment to be a champion,
Right.
because like that's the whole deal. I mean, like, obviously our perspective is like we like our champions like that. Obviously in the back they're like, hey, we're just doing storylines, we're entertaining the people. Like, championships really don't matter as much in the back as they do outside,
I-
in the ring.
Yeah, I think
I can see that.
Yeah, I think there's got to be at some particular point, either whether you talk yourself out of it or you get talked out of it, and just relegate it to these smaller roles. But I don't think anyone that signs with the WWE that doesn't have that goal of being the face of the company, having some championship runs. Can you imagine how good Seth Rollins is and him not having a championship? That would be insane.
Oh,
Or
yeah.
Kevin Owens.
Yeah.
That
I mean, he only held it for a moment too, so
yeah. So
the red universal title.
yeah, I don't get it. Is it a time game? Is it we're waiting for right creative? You're waiting for right creative to, like, validate
have
someone's
shows planned
career.
out. They have shows planned out for years. Like, I let someone fit in that bill just for a moment. Give them their notoriety. Give them their roses. Make that part of their resume when you because like when the wrestlers come out, like they have the slight little resume they have,
Yep.
and like have there be a championship on there, not just a bunch of their nicknames. Like,
Right.
it's almost insulting. But like, okay, oh, he's this guy, he's the high flyer. Like Ricochet, for example, right? Like, he's won a couple. I think he's won the U.S. title, and I'm not sure the IC title. I know he's probably won tag teams, but like,
Yeah, he is.
Yeah.
He's held the Intercontinental title once.
Right.
and so from the entertainment aspect of it, like, even if he's not that, he's not that over with the crowd, when you have a surprise person win a championship, the crowd is all about it.
Yeah.
Because it's kind of the David and Goliath scenario, right? Like, you got these guys that, but all of a sudden the little guy wins and everybody loses their freaking minds.
You know
like
what?
that kind of pop
Yeah.
is so genuine and authentic.
I think when it's things like that could happen a little bit more, and just to have that excitement, like with a Ricochet. Let's take a Ricochet for example,
I love
and
Ricochet.
just say, like, for whatever reason, hey, we're putting the strap on you. Go do your thing. And or not even tell him, and just be like, you find out in ring towards the end of the match. It's like, hey, we're putting the strap on you.
Right.
Or,
have no backstory for it. Just have it happen like
yeah,
genuinely.
that's such an authentic moment for everyone, not including the performers. It's just, it makes WWE what they proclaim to be. So I
He does have a title right now. It's that Speed.
The
whatever.
Speed one. That's like a 24/7 championship. It's fucking garbage. It's insulting.
You know,
Let's see how fast you can win a match.
yeah.
Okay.
So,
The Undertaker could be a speed champion.
yeah, you could.
Here
You
comes out of
know,
retirement. Let's add to his resume. He's a speed champion. You know, like
you know,
that's a
you know,
24/7 championship. That's insulting to the championship name.
you know. It can't be any more insulting than the Heritage Cup.
Oh my god.
You know, but I digress. I think.
Oh no, rant on.
You know, I don't
What?
understand and get the Heritage Cup. So I'm sure that there's a backstory, and when I learn that backstory, I'll probably be like, oh, that's interesting. That's pretty dope. That's pretty cool. Other than that, right now I'm just like, what is this? Why is it only people from other countries holding this Heritage Cup? And a pretend Italian, but I digress. So I would like to see more championships. And I think maybe Seth, you mentioned it a few podcasts ago that, you know, maybe there's a faster championship schedule that looks similar to what UFC happens with in their promotion. Sometimes you win a title, and you know 6 months later you have a match and you get rocked in the first round and you don't have that championship anymore. Maybe they take, you know, something like that. And do something like that, you know, just to be able to say, you know, these are the stories that we want to tell. Sometimes they're quick, sometimes they're long. But there are some people that I think, because of their ring work and their in-ring skills, that get overlooked for championships that should be champions. Like Becky Lynch not having a championship for a long time, then all of a sudden she's like 8 or 9 championships in since 2020. You know what I'm saying? So I always thought that she was underrated. I always thought, you know, her character and her presence in the ring just was like, she's better than Charlotte, you know, and I know why they're putting Charlotte over. I give the people something more to talk about than just the entertainment factor. Give them the athletic and give them the in-ring work, and let that be rewarded with singles gold or with tag team gold, and not just the adulation from the fans.
So I'm looking up the like the Heritage Cup thing.
Mhm.
It looks like it kind of came out of the pandemic from the UK, and that's why it's presented the way it is. Although there's someone holding it now that's not really, and that's Tony D'Angelo, but it just kind of it's more about a match stipulation than it is the championship in and of itself. Because basically it's a 2 out of 3 falls match essentially.
So something similar to Ring of Honor's pure championship rules.
Basically, yeah, it's basically falls under like British whatever rules. And so I think it got brought over when NXT UK kind of combined essentially with NXT. They brought it over from them because I'm assuming they had it and they were doing it more in the UK, and then they brought it over here. And I don't think it's not really becoming a foreign person only championship now. They are kind of diversifying the title holders in NXT right now, because you have, let's see. So looking at here, so there was some A-Kid, and this is also basically there's 2 years of it. It was only in the UK. So you had A-Kid who won it in November 26, 2020. Tyler Bate won it in 2021. Noam Dar 2021. Mark Coffey, Noam Dar, Nathan Frazier, Noam Dar again. Charlie Dempsey recently, and then Tony D'Angelo holds it now. So I think once they brought it over here, just looking at who's holding it, Nathan Frazier, Noam Dar, Charlie Dempsey, Tony D'Angelo. I think NXT is diversifying that title and who holds it.
Okay.
Because like for those who don't know, and you could just look at the guy and you know who his dad is, but like Charlie Dempsey, his dad is what's his nut?
Sir William Regal.
Yes. And so he literally just looks like a Regal.
I like
Like just the
William
facial
Regal.
expressions, the very just looking like he's taking a dump but like yeah, no, I think but no, I think that it's just the Heritage Cup thing is just kind of it's a walking title. It's kind of a constant work title. It's kind of like below it's above 24/7 and below North American Championship. Because it really doesn't it's not as prestigious as they make it sound. It's just kind of a cool stipulation match. And that's all it
Right.
really is. But they are kind of cool matches though. Basically you have I think it's like 5 or like 7 3-minute rounds or something like that. It's kind of MMA style.
All right.
And then basically if you tie with the amount of wins you have, then the title holder holds it. And basically it's 2 out of 3 falls of those 7 rounds.
All right.
And so basically if whoever gets to 2 first basically wins. With the exception if it's a tie. If they both win 1-1, end of it, it's all done. They retain. So I mean, it's a cool concept match, and honestly, I think it'd be kind of cool to bring it to main roster per se, just because you kind of give it it's like a 20-ish minute window of a match, which is kind of what a normal match for at least the
Right.
men in main roster is. But yeah, that's pretty much the Heritage Cup. It's not really it's a gloat, but it's not like something you can be really recognized in your career, I guess.
Right.
But
So, since we're talking about NXT, can we take a few moments and just talk about the upcoming NXT
TNA overlap.
and TNA overlap? Yeah.
Oh,
and how
I'm
much of the
excited
shocker.
for it. I'm excited for it.
So, yeah.
So
First
Jordan
of all,
Grace,
yeah.
But
Yeah.
I got one thing to say. I don't know if you guys seen it. He tweeted and trying to think of what's his name. He's in NXT, not NXT. TNA.
He came at the end of the show. I can't think of his name, but I think I know who you're talking about.
He's Moose. There we go.
Oh.
He tweeted out about Drew McIntyre, about how they had their championship match before when Drew was over there. And he was tweeted out something like, I don't think you want this and blah blah this. You know what's gonna happen the next time if we face off again.
You don't want none. You don't want none.
I
I like Moose.
meh.
I haven't really delved too deep down the rabbit hole of TNA. I mean, I used
Only
to
when
watch
St-
it back in the day.
Only when Sting was there.
Like I think the last time I really watched it probably was back in I think it might have been like Samoa Joe, Jeff Jarrett, AJ Styles.
Yeah. Joe.
So I mean, I think because this isn't the first time Jordan Grace has been on WWE,
Right.
because she was at the Royal Rumble, which and the same thing with Mickie James years prior when they've crossover, because I think she was the knockout champion at the time, when she was at the Royal Rumble, and they introduced her as such. And so I feel like it was those little seeds, those little gems planted that you won't realize till later. And I think now as it sits, I really, according to whatever sources, whatever YouTubers and stuff like that, have kind of established that there is a crossover in the works, but it'll only be with NXT. It won't. They're not going to push Raw or SmackDown with anybody TNA. So basically, the gist of it is that they're gonna be combining with NXT, where NXT can go to TNA, TNA can come to NXT, and they're gonna kind of leave it there. They're not gonna main roster push it.
I think that's a letdown. I think that there should be or there could be. It doesn't have to be immediately.
Yeah, they're just. That's what I'm saying. They're like, there's probably just baby steps to the process,
Yeah.
but like
Yeah.
introducing, because not every wrestling show is set up the same. So like
Right.
people like, even when Shawn Spears came back from AEW to NXT, like he was better. He came down to NXT, and so like I think NXT is like when someone comes back from space and they have to get reintegrated into like that, and I feel like because of how WWE is and the giant that it is,
Right.
you have to kind of get integrated into how they do things, and that's where NXT plays a massive factor. And I think, like you said, time frame. Like maybe we'll call it 6 to 8 months. I think until we get full integration, because definitely TNA would definitely be a fresh coat of paint for WWE.
A couple of things that come to mind with that. So, one, I do want to see WWE and TNA do their version of Forbidden Door with their Worlds Collide premium live event. And I think there is, like you just mentioned, there's a lot of room for creativity with those two rosters, because there are a lot of really solid talent on both of those rosters. One roster needs more experience than the other, and that's NXT, because they're bringing in newer performers and newer athletes to be professional wrestlers, while TNA has accomplished, seasoned performers, not only from the indies but also from WWE, such as Nick Nemeth and Mustafa Ali, and probably Ash by Elegance, just Dana Brooke. Just I don't
Yeah.
even know why.
I
why she
think that
So yeah, I think it's going to help both. But two, here is the conspiracy theory, or here's the thought. A lot of people know the name Scott D'Amore. I believe that's how I'm saying his name right, but he used to run TNA and really regrew that brand from the train wreck that Dixie Carter and her family left it.
Oh God, Dixie Carter.
Yeah. So he was recently fired from his position.
that was
I
a
think
whole triangle with Jeff Jarrett, Kurt
Yeah.
Angle.
Perk Angle.
Yeah,
So
I'm
I
trying
wonder
to
if
look up
he was
some
let go from TNA, so this working agreement and partnership could come to Vision, or if he was let go after he started the work making this happen. Because yeah, he's missing out, and it's unfortunate that he's missing out on what could be, a really great business relationship and crossover for both companies.
Yeah, I'm just trying to kind of dig up some stuff, but it's very, very limited. So I think the fact that there's limited access to the information just leads to be that it is going to be a slow burn. Now, what do you think would happen if Jordan Grace beats Roxanne Perez?
She beats her.
Like
Oh, I see it. I see it
think I don't
happening.
think Roxanne Perez has the gusto to beat Jordan Grace. Jordan Grace, she might look like, okay, she's on short, kind of whatever, but like if you follow her on Instagram, dude, the chick can she's
She's
She used to be a big girl.
She has always been athletic. She's always been someone who's dedicated to professional wrestling. A light switch went off in her, and she wanted to be a professional wrestler who was also a world champion bodybuilder. And along with her husband, Jonathan Gresham, who is arguably one of the top 5 technical wrestlers working today. They are both just they're both phenomenally cut muscularly. They look great. They have a size about them and a muscle build that is like, yes, they believe in looking the part as a professional wrestler. And her work ethic outside of the ring to have that look is phenomenal. And I believe she placed as a she had maybe a top 10 or top 5 finish when she first did her first bodybuilding competition. She could have even won it. I'm not 100% sure. But she has definitely changed, and she is still, I think she also has a nickname called the Juggernaut. She's a problem, strength wise, look wise. She is an absolute problem.
Well, I 100% agree with you.
So unless they tell that match and story where Roxanne cheats her in some way, or Jordan makes a mistake of somehow, or there's outside interference, don't do that crap where
Don't taint the match.
Roxanne beats her, because physically, and it goes back to what we've said previously, physically, there's just no way.
So I know she has her title match. I can't remember when in TNA. I know she has her title on the line coming up here soon. I can't remember what's her name she's facing.
So what if Jordan loses in TNA and then wins in NXT? I mean,
Well,
maybe that's the transition point.
Probably.
Maybe Jordan Grace is a new NXT Women's Champion, and she's the first crossover to join, and run it.
what if the bigger picture is that they create like a trade system where their performers can work either brand, as long as you're working for a company.
Let's just say I could see that. It'll help. WWE could pretty much help TNA grow as a product. Even if AJ Styles wants to take a little bit of break, he could go over to TNA and wrestle.
Yeah, I mean, it creates, it creates a working relationship, and it's quite similar, maybe more structured and more defined than what AEW does with New Japan
or Ring of Honor.
Or Ring of Honor, So I really would like to see this flushed out and see what this looks like around SummerSlam season or even Survivor Series season, and see what this looks like. What if it's a TNA NXT versus SmackDown versus Raw? I think that could be quite interesting. And then we could get a Moose versus Drew McIntyre. You know what I'm saying? Or we can get
Dolph Ziggler too.
We could get, some very interesting matches that I am sounding cliche. We could get some very interesting matches that only WWE could pull off without acquiring a company.
True.
So
true.
let's go. Let's see what happens. And when the dust settles a year from now, we can look back on this and say like, hey, this aged really well, or hey, we were way off with this. We did not know that there was going to be this or this or this.
I think WWE is just trying to roll the dice to see where this goes.
You know what? And I wonder how much of this came from the MLW lawsuit that was quietly settled between WWE and MLW. Because, under previous regimes, the VKM era, this one would have never went down. Two, Vince didn't want anyone else in town. So with that being said, acknowledging that other promotions exist, acknowledging other wrestlers exist outside of WWE, acknowledging that you can have great working relationships.
And plus WWE would look at it like this too, and getting some of these stars that are over in TNA into WWE and getting their names out a little bit more and getting more spotlight on them and their product and helping them grow into a bigger product, a bigger company.
So yeah, TNA already has some really good performers. Like Moose is a really good performer. The Walking Weapon, I can't think of his
Eric Young.
Eric Young, they tried so many times with Eric Young to pull the trigger. I do think that there will be several wrestlers in TNA that they will not want to do business with, like a Mustafa Ali, like a Nick Nemeth. Maybe with Ash by Elegance or Ashley. They'll want to do some business with her. There probably would be a couple of other people, but I can't think of. But there are some really good guys that they should do business with, like the Motor City Machine Guns. So talented. Both of those guys are just, yeah. I would love to see them have an NXT run with championships, because they can still go after so many years. I mean, yeah, I would definitely like to see them. Crazy as it sounds, I would like to see Moose and do something in NXT and have a very interesting run, and not just one where he's like, a jobber or a good hand. I want him to see, championship gold, and to be able to have that on his resume only puts his stock up, because there were rumblings around the pandemic that they wanted to sign Moose, but he re-signed with TNA. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of really good opportunities. As long as everyone is on the same page, and the product that we are given as consumers, enjoyers and fans of both TNA and WWE and professional wrestling, we're not treated as uninformed and incompetent. If they are just straight shooting with us and giving us really good stories with really great performances, I think it would show just how dominant in this space WWE is, because we've seen with other promotions, it's kind of just been this hodgepodge and only one promotion looks good in it. And if WWE and TNA both do it right, WWE might have a little more bragging rights, but TNA can still look quite strong, and it would only help them, like you said, Tim. So
I think it'd give them more. Yeah. It'd give more. Honestly, it would give them more publicity. Honestly, I mean, not that TNA's not like a decent sized company. I don't think it's anywhere near what it used to be. But I think getting the WWE rub, I feel like would be good for the product, even if they don't cross over as much.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because
I think that's spot on.
If anyone's really been kind of keeping their ear to what's going on in AEW, and I feel like I don't think AEW will go away, but their push, and they're pulling whatever they can for the amount of money they want to pay people. They're not selling as much, and they're starting to get to the point they're getting black sheets out, dude, because I think people have noticed that AEW is getting stagnant. You had Edge say, "Oh, well, this is the best wrestling company," blah blah, and then like half your roster's hurt because you
That's
guys go because you go too far. Like AEW
WWE
doesn't
has
have
had the
they have
same
a balls to the
problems.
they have a balls to the wall mentality. They'll have blood and gut matches. They'll have all this stuff, but like what toll does that take on the body in the longevity? It's good in the short term. It's not good in the long term. Ask Daniel Bryan's body or Bryan
Yeah,
Danielson. You ask his body, dude. You ask Edge's body. You ask Chris Jericho's body. You ask these guys that have been doing it for so long that really when they got to AEW, they're not as powerful as they once was. They're a good draw for the name. They are there like a Rio City Speedwagon reunion tour. That's all it is.
you know it's
They can still play, but they're not the greatest.
it's fine, and it's fine because perhaps the product that Tony wants to have is probably not the product we think he should be doing. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So, he could be someone that's, and this is just speculation, 100% speculation. He could be someone, I want to give professional wrestling a platform as a thank you because it was such an important part of my life and my upbringing growing up. And I had a lot of really awesome feelings and emotions, and I respect the craft.
Yeah.
So it could be something like that. Or it's like, hey, I think I can present professional wrestling in a different way that it's not so entertainment and drama heavy, and it's more athletic and it's more sportsman. And no, you know what? No one's telling I'm 90% sure no one's telling Edge climb up to the top of the row, or climb up to the top of the cage and jump on Malachi. But put your leg out, so you second guess yourself.
Right.
God, that match was
Yeah.
brutal.
I mean it's another thing is like if AEW
Do you
was
think
a new was a new product with basically under the age of 40 talent and they were doing what they're doing now, I feel like they'd be a lot better off. If you basically take a bunch of releases from other companies, and you present them differently and you do what you're doing now, it's just these wrestlers that are very dated, in the company. They're there for the draw and the nostalgia, the popularity as it was, right? But like, Chris Jericho is out of shape as a motherfucker. He can say what he wants about being in shape, but the guy's body has been through hell and back, even Christian, I mean, like a lot of these guys, they're not going to perform at top level anymore. And like, if you really
but
want those wow factor, you're
that's
going to have younger talent.
that's every wrestler. There's, Sting went to 64, 65 in the ring. Yeah, he had quite a few scares and quite a few surgeries, but he knew when to hang it up. He wasn't he's not Ric Flair at 68, 69 thinking one more match,
Right. You never want to give up. That's the thing is you need these people that they'll do it till the cows come home. And I guess maybe AEW was that venture for them to be like, hey, I can still do it. I might not be good in WWE, but I can be good in AEW. I mean, maybe
Right.
that's
even
a lot of the nostalgia.
even now, like just speaking for Adam Copeland, when I saw his match with Sheamus, one, he had a damn good dance partner with Sheamus. If he was supposed to do that with someone like an Orange Cassidy, no, absolutely not. That would have been a train wreck of a match. It would have been a squash match. But he has these really good matches with really good dance partners. The mistake he made is he threw out his leg to like brace himself, and he broke his he broke his leg. And mistakes like that
miscues happen. I
yeah,
mean,
when mistakes like that happen, you're not gonna. I don't think you're going to blame the promoter. because I'm pretty sure, Tony could have been like, hey, I don't think we had that written down. Was this an improv thing? He was like, yeah.
Well, the great
You
great
know.
ones can improv though. Like that's the thing too, is like, you know, if you can make it work. I mean, there's been times like Triple H has wrestled through things. You've had, you know,
Yeah.
multiple wrestlers, that are on what I would call like the top 10 Mount Rushmore. Like I feel like Mount Rushmore doesn't really fit for four, for wrestling in general. Like I feel like you have a solid 10. you know, and you have those guys that were the standard bearers, your Undertakers, your Ric Flair, your John
Mhm.
Cena, your Shawn Michaels, you know, you have these guys, I mean, even Kane, you have these guys that were essentially, I hate to use the term, but trailblazers in professional wrestling. In professional wrestling, when it was in its heyday, these guys were what these late age guys are now. And so like the amount of the longevity back in the day was because they were very limited move sets. Their finishers were very basic, very mundane, you know. And so now you have, it's a different time frame. Things are more extreme, doesn't matter young or old, in professional wrestling. We are pushing the envelope. I mean, the amount of things that go on now would have been like, what? That's not even possible, right?
And I
I
think,
mean,
yeah, that it you
you look at Ricochet, dude. Like the amount of things that guy can do, whether like, I mean, literally doing a backflip off of the the ring wall thing, and like that would have been like nuts. And this is the evolution of wrestling. I mean,
right.
and
It's
so I mean, I
it's
think that is a lot
definitely
of it.
it's definitely more athletic, definitely um more risk, more rewards for an audience that is always clamoring for more. And I don't think you should downplay a performer based upon age. If they can still do it and still go in some capacity, let them have the opportunity to show why they have the longevity. Do I think some performers may overstay their welcome? Yeah. And some of them are just kind of like, you know what? I thank you for the overtime. I really appreciate it. I'm out.
Right.
And
Yeah.
I look at in both those scenarios, Ric Flair overstayed and Sting um didn't. I think with the run that Sting had, I think a lot of performers that have been in the business for quite a while would want to have that one final run similar to a Sting. Because say what you want about Tony Khan and how he runs AEW, what he did for Sting, top notch, 100% class act, and it's because of how Sting treated the business and people in the business. Yeah, there probably were some bad relationships and bad business partners at times, but in general, the consensus is Sting was one of those performers and individuals who kept it 100 with you no matter what, even when he was going through stuff and he, had to switch gears and learn how to, reinvent himself or take care of his health or take care of his life and family. He still treated, everyone 100%. That's just who he was. So with that being said, I do think, guys like an Adam Copeland or Christian Cage, or even a Chris Jericho, who's getting a lot of hate because of how Chris Jericho has treated other people, doesn't mean he still doesn't have value in the business. And I think we should acknowledge that and still grow pro wrestling. So there's
So
always viable talent
I
that
totally
can
agree.
do this.
so I'm looking
What
at
I did like Sting in TNA, not TNA, AEW. There we go. He did a lot. I like how he was in there, worked with what's his name?
Darby.
Darby. Yeah. I like how he helped him, pushed him to become a good wrestler, a
Yeah,
very great talent.
I think Darby probably did more for Sting than Sting did for Darby outside of the in-ring characters.
Yeah.
From the few articles that I've read and some of the commentary that both men have provided, I think Sting wouldn't have lasted as long as he did in AEW without Darby.
Yeah.
There's no question. Yeah.
I
So
looked
yeah.
up Sting and kind of his Wikipedia, whatever, but like, so I mean, let's see. So he was born in '59. He's been wrestling
Damn, he's the same age as my
since
parents.
1985. Like,
All right.
damn, he's been wrestling my whole existence. So
I didn't know
when
he
you
was born. I didn't know he was born in '59. That's the
he
same
was,
year.
Yeah,
as
when
my
I
dad.
first
he's as
learned
old
he
as
was
my
in his,
he's as old as my parents, dude. Like, no,
he's 5
sick.
years younger
My-
than my mom, and my
my
mom
parents
is
were born in
70s.
'57.
Oh,
So
what?
like if you look at it from the grand scheme of the fact that he's been doing it for 36 years. Damn.
What month is he born?
March 20
March
something.
20. Yep.
Yeah, he was born before my parents because my parents were born June and July of '59.
So
Surprisingly, he's
yeah,
not a Scorpio. He's a Pisces. Yeah. Fun fact.
yeah. But yeah, no, I think we'll put a pin in this because I'm literally at like an hour 22, and I know we could literally pick apart this.
One more
All right,
take.
one more.
One more
No,
take.
and no ranting today.
No,
Just I'll we
You'll
will
say
save
that
that
next
for another
time.
day.
Or just
Becky-
make an episode of just that.
I like
Yeah,
that.
but then you
idea.
guys said it would just be me talking. So
We'll host it. We'll host it.
Yeah.
You talk and
Oh,
record
so
it,
we'll-
and we'll
so
watch. It'll be a watcher one.
We'll just be the commentary.
Yeah, it's like
okay, you'll just
definitely.
fill me. Okay.
one last take. Becky
Alright.
Lynch's contract supposedly expired this past weekend, like either Saturday, June 1st, or Friday,
Yeah,
May
it was the first of
31st.
the month.
Yeah. Does she resign? Does she go somewhere else? Does she take time off and be a mom and wife and take care of Seth? What is Becky Lynch's next move?
I think with me personally,
Mhm.
I kind of see Chris Jericho's point of view because Chris Jericho thinks she'd be a perfect fit for AEW.
I don't.
But
Is
I
he-
think she might take some time off to spend with Seth and their baby daughter, and
I don't- yeah.
then might come back, make a big appearance like at one of the pay-per-views.
I think out of pure respect for the amount of workhorse that Becky and Seth have been, I think they have definitely deserved some respite. I think that I don't think she's going anywhere. I think she is such a big thing in WWE. She has no reason to leave. Same thing with Seth. They have no reason to leave. They, because you even when small little side packet little hair thing, but like when Seth was talking to CM Punk, he literally was like, while you were out flipping, doing, bouncing around companies, I was here being the workhorse. So that certifies to me that Seth and Becky are going nowhere. I think WWE treated them well. I think she might have, if she does re-sign anything, it'll be limited appearances. I think it'll be a Brock Lesnar, Roman Reigns type of schedule if she does resign. But I would not be against her and Seth taking some respite, healing up, spending time with their kid, and doing the mom dad thing, and I would be okay with her taking a break. I think it's just deserved. So
She definitely deserves it. They both do.
Yeah.
And he's out because of his knee surgery. Gives him time to heal and spend time with each other. They've been going to Disney World here and there, doing all these nice fancy
Yeah.
family trips.
Yep.
They both freaking deserve it.
Yeah, they've definitely earned whatever time off that they want. I think Becky, if she hasn't already re-signed with WWE, then she may do maybe a couple of acting projects, be mom and wife, take some time, heal her body, figure out what her next move is. Just enjoy life. I would like that for her. And just heal up and just, whatever happens, for her, may be the best, because she's earned it. She's definitely earned
I could
a
see
lot.
I could see her getting the same type of contract as like Brock Lesnar and Roman Reigns, because she's paved the way for a lot of those new talent in WWE. She doesn't need to be there constantly all the time and helping them, but I think she just needs that short contract, like, be here on Raw or here on SmackDown or here in NXT, make appearance once in a while on all three brands, and maybe have one run for a title shot, or maybe just help push somebody at a pay-per-view, give them a nice good push and help them.
Yeah.
All right,
That's just my opinion.
Yep.
Yeah, no. So I think this was a good episode of just kind of diversifying it.
Agree.
So
Yep.
so we'll put a pin in this. We'll see you guys next week. This is the Lockdown Podcast. Peace.